You may be seated while the band continues for a moment with us. Can we ask the band to give us just a little bit more music while we're letting people come in? Thank you. Thank you to the University Band. I am Lillian Post, Acting Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. I'd like to welcome you to our inaugural Black History Convocation for Texas Southern University. Today, we celebrate the life and legacy of Reverend William A. Lawson, founding pastor emeritus of Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, and I'm proud to say, former director of the Baptist Student Union and professor of Bible at Texas Southern University. As a university, let's give it a hand. As a university family, we are proud to present this honor. At this point, I'd like to ask Reverend Alexander Johnson, executive pastor of Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, to bring the invocation.
Let's pray. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, God who has brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray. We thank you on this day for the opportunity to celebrate the life and legacy of your son and servant, Reverend Dr. William Alexander Lawson. We thank you for his contributions to this society, this world. And we ask, oh God, that you would continue to keep him, even these days, he might continue to be a blessing to so many. Thank you for the work of Texas Southern University and for this opportunity. Pray for their leadership and for students and faculty, staff, this president. We thank you for this day. In it we rejoice and are glad. Have your way is our prayer. Be glorified as we celebrate your son, your servant, on this day, for all of his indelible impact on this world. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Johnson. At this point, we'll have a selection from the TSU chorale, concert chorale. Would you come forward, please? Let's give our students a round of applause. They are awesome. When you come to Texas Southern, you see the beauty that we have. And I'd like to thank the chorale under the direction of Dr. Kiana Williams, who a little birdie told me is a member of Wheeler Academy. Thank you for joining the Texas Southern University family to celebrate Black History Month and the life of a national icon, Reverend William Lawson. As we begin the ceremony, I'd like to recognize the members of the Board of Regents who joined us today. Please stand as I recognize you. Regent Albert Myers, Chair, who we will hear from shortly. Regent Pamela Medina, Vice Chair. Regent James Denham, Secretary. Regent Marilyn Rose. And Regent Alea Fleming, Student Regent. Thank you all for the work you do for this university. Thank you. From the TSU family, I'd like to recognize the administrators responsible for the leadership of the university. May I ask that you stand and be recognized? They know who they are. Thank you. And our academic leaders, the deans, would you please stand? For the heartbeat of the university, I would like to recognize the faculty. Would you please stand? And for the individuals who make TSU work, the staff, would you please stand? And at this time, I'd like to recognize the soul of Texas Southern University, our students. Would you please stand and be To our guests, we welcome you to Texas Southern. We welcome you as we begin this celebration. At this time, Regent Albert Myers will bring greetings.
Good afternoon and welcome. Let me first acknowledge Provost Post for taking a lot out of my domain here. So we've already acknowledged the regents, we've already acknowledged the staff, faculty, students, the band, the choir. I want to thank her for that, so I don't have to go through that while I'm up here. So I can get to a couple other things that I do want to acknowledge this morning. First, I do want to acknowledge our president, Young, and Ms. Post again. Also, Vice President Ms. Spalding. Let me give you the reason why I'm acknowledging these folks. I want everyone to know that. And let me say this also about this event and how we got here today. I want to acknowledge Aljanita Davis. Is she here, Aljanita? I want to say thank you to you. I want to say thank you to Bishop Dixon. Is he here? I want to say thank you. I also want to thank Terrence Fontaine. Where is he? Is he here? Just to give you a little, I'm not one to try to speak on things that I am not aware of and or I do not know. People know me well enough to suggest that. I am extremely humbled and honored to be here today within another historical aspect of the pages of this university honoring Reverend Bill Lawson. I met Reverend Lawson about 30 years ago. And to be honest with you, to Roxanne and Cheryl and Melody, Well, you did make it. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge, because she was the first one I met and acknowledged your mother, who was the mountain behind your dad. Okay? And then I met your dad, but I met your mother first, 30 years ago, approximately. And I want to say to the family, because I was just informed that the individual that we're honoring here tonight, honored here this afternoon, was not able to be here. And I understand that. But Melanie knows the story. Alexander knows the story. I wanted this to happen as fast as it could. I did. And that's why I want to make sure I acknowledge the President, Provost Holtz, and Ms. Spalding, because my exact words for this university, for these students, is that we can't wait, we need to do this now. I truly believe that we're directly here today to honor Reverend Lawson. But indirectly and directly, the reason why you are here is because of this fabric of individuals like Reverend Lawson. It's probably the reason I'm standing up here today. Because Al Jazeera told me stories. And let me also acknowledge one other individual that's not here, that wanted to be here. We'll talk about that later. That was Roy and Shirley Lawson. Because when you go to put together an event like this here, you go to talk about folks, and you learn about things that you never knew about how great your dad really is. And why it was so important that this university, at this time, for the right reasons, honor Reverend Lawson today. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that I just acknowledged. I wish your dad was here. I know this is being streamed live for him because I want you to know that President Young and the Provost and this staff did everything they can do to put this together outside of that first phone call I had with you approximately 4 weeks ago. So I want to thank this university for doing this, and thank again Dr. Post for taking away the other things I did not need to say to give me these 3 minutes. Thank you and welcome.
And thank you, Chairman Myers. I knew you had a lot to say also. At this time, we will have an oratorical performance by the world-renowned TSU debate.
The celebration of Black History Month is more important than ever before. The past 2 years have been devastating. A global pandemic, which has resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Americans. Black people and poor people have suffered the most from this pandemic. The efforts to hinder the teaching of critical race theory are an effort to erase our history. How can we move forward if we have no understanding of our history?
In Ghana, West Africa, the same bird walks forward while looking backwards. It serves as a symbol of learning from the past to build for the future.
The Texas Southern University debate team is proud to present this reading presentation, scripted especially for this occasion by head coach Dr. Gordon Cleese, utilizing the works of African American authors including Pastor Anthony Moffat, Reverend Pierre, and others, and addressing our footprints in history.
Proud Africans were my foreparents, born in rich, dark, fertile land, a land sparkling with precious jewels and valuable stone.
Born in a land where the sun shines bright, coloring the skin of its people in a rainbow of black hues.
Copper.
Mahogany.
Chocolate.
Proud Africans were my foreparents, endowed with thick lips, thick hair, and thick bones, endowed with great intellect, a great spirit, and great creativity. Allowed feet to dance, hips to swing, and bodies to celebrate the moments of life's histories.
Celebrating birth.
Death. Manhood.
Womanhood.
And marriage.
Celebrating the rhythm of life, the beat of a drum, the music of our maker.
Proud Africans were my foreparents. Proud were they until the day our community was betrayed. Betrayed by people who looked like us. Victims of clanship and rivalry.
Betrayed and sold. Sold into the hands of white oppressors who enslaved us.
Sold like animals for economic gain.
Sold like objects to be owned and controlled.
Sold like Jesus for 30 shekels of silver.
Sold.
Proud Africans were my foreparents, forced to sail across the Atlantic Ocean, packed as human cargo in the hull of ships. Some committed suicide, some lost their minds, and some died. Most held on to life, allowing sorrow to fuel a revelation of hope.
Hope for freedom.
Hope for a new life.
Hope for the future of humanity.
Hope in God.
Proud Africans were my foreparents. Hope was hushed by the reality of slavery. It was a season to mourn.
Stripped to family ties.
Strips of names.
Stripped of native tongue. Slavery, slavery, slavery.
The pride of my African foreparents was diluted, bathed in salty tears and a dark pool of grief.
White oppressors taught us to hate ourselves. Could anything good be black? Our thick skin, our thick hair, our thick lips, our thick bodies, our pidgin English.
All bore witness to their bigoted belief in our inferiority. They waged war for the submission of our humanity. The weapons,
Violence, hatred, abuse, women, rape.
Men slaughtered.
Infants snatched from their mother's nursing breast.
Families divided in death like playing cards.
children watched and learned.
We
We
screamed.
shouted.
Prayed to a silent God, a God who seemed not to speak. And in the name of religion, slavery continued, unabated for more than 200 years.
But truth smashed to the ground will rise again. Their white Christ became our black Jesus. God spoke.
We listened and we learned that we would rise by God's hand. We would rise like Jesus. We did rise.
Rise like the morning sun, rise like the Easter star, rise like the yeast in the dough of bread.
Rise with our leaders. Not turn.
Harriet Tubman, Denmark Beast,
Marcus Garvey,
Frederick Douglass. Rise with our leaders.
Take what God will do.
Sojourner Truth,
Ida B. Wells,
Mickey Lee.
Barbara Jordan,
Dr. Thomas F.
Proud Africans were my foreparents, renewed by the spirit and anointing and power. One people out of many tribes, shaped and formed by the power of determined people.
a persistent people.
stubborn people.
A strong people.
A visionary people.
Hope rose up. The revolution began.
Proud African Americans were my foreparents. A glimpse of deliverance came in 1863. Slavery died. We celebrated Juneteenth style, but the black man's hallelujah was the white man's heartache. The slavery's death was not readily accepted. Many grieving its past and resisted.
The revolution had just begun.
Ku Klux Klan flourished, segregation thrived, hatred, rejection, lynching, Jim Crow laws, the 13th Amendment changed the Constitution, but not the heart of a racist
The
nation.
revolution had just begun. Proud African Americans were my foreparents. Fighting the revolution, they prepared for the long battle ahead. Fought armed with the weapon of prayer.
Armed with the defense of the gospel.
Armed with the vision of God.
Armed with a purpose in mind.
Armed with the strength of the black church.
Martin Luther King Jr. stood up and preached.
Let us not King stood up and prayed.
Malcolm X stood up and taught.
They survived, stood up and tutored.
Rosa Parks stood up for her right to sit
The
down.
revolution had just begun.
In Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the nation's first bus boycott was born, led by Reverend Dr. T.J. Jefferson.
On March 4th, 1960, 16 Texas Southern University students took courageous action. These students organized the first march in and sit-in to protest against racial injustice and end segregation in Houston. They were under the advisement of a young director of the South Central YMCA named Quentin Meese and a young Baptist minister named Reverend Lawson, professor of Bible and director of the Baptist Student Union at TSU. It is an invaluable honor to have him with us today.
Our ancestors ran to build historical black colleges and universities like our proud, illustrious Texas Southern University.
Educational institutions who taught our truth to our children.
Through unity,
Self-determination.
Cooperative economics.
Purpose,
Creativity.
and faith.
Proud African Americans were my foreparents. By the hand of God and the sweat of human flesh, the legacy of African Americanism
unity.
Discover the power and wisdom in knowing the vision God has for us.
Knowing how we may accomplish it. Knowing
Proud were our forebears,
They are calling us,
wooing us.
imploring us,
stay in the light, hope in God, and hold on.
Thank you, Reverend Bill, for powerful preaching and teaching God's word to us.
For living God's word for us. For raising our consciousness about
for
us.
helping to transform us.
From the inside out.
For loving us and encouraging us to love ourselves and each other.
For praying for us.
Thanks, Reverend Bill, for believing in us. For investing in us.
For challenging us.
For helping to build a great community with us.
For teaching us the power of community.
For insisting that we work together in unity. For standing up for us.
For speaking out for us.
For marching for us and with us.
For even going to jail for us.
Great man of God, for over 7 decades you have consistently made so many
Powerful moves.
We're standing on the shoulders of love, Reverend Bill, and you can count on us.
To do our part by the grace of God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
There are those moments when all you can say is, amen. We are truly TSU proud. You see the kinds of students that we have and the talent that we have. And I do need to recognize Dr. Gloria Batiste, the director, who followed in the footsteps of the late Dr. Thomas Freeman, and that is our legacy. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, it is really an honor and a privilege to bring to you a young lady that I've worked very closely with for about the last 8 months. I'd like to welcome our 13th president of Texas Southern University to the podium, who leads by the motto of achieving unprecedented success at an accelerated pace. And we've lived that for the last 8 months. Dr. Alicia Crumpton.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Tiger Nation. After hearing our wonderful debate team, how many of you can join me in saying that you are a proud African American? I will tell you, there is nothing more proudful than hearing and seeing the outstanding work and the excellence of my students at Texas Southern University. Those of you in that debate team who were on this stage with me just a few moments ago, you know that you brought me to tears. Many of you know that my glasses are fogged at this moment. I cannot read my script because there is nothing that means more to me as your president than to see the examples of excellence that I just saw on that stage. Scholarly excellence. And I appreciate nothing more than the intellectual capital that you brought to that stage and what you delivered today in honor of Reverend Lawson. And I thank you. For I truly am a proud African American, as I stand here today as your president. I thank you. Today marks the continuation of a celebration of Black history. For we today have the privilege of honoring one of our own who is truly a pillar of this community, and that is Reverend Bill Lawson. He is an individual who is a living example of Black excellence, as Pastor Cosby reminded us at our opening convocation, that it is all of our responsibility to become examples of Black excellence. And Reverend Lawson is truly an example. He is also an individual that exemplifies the title of our history book at Texas Southern University, for he is someone who was truly born to serve. And we are so thankful for his service. Thus, it is an extreme privilege for me to participate as president in today's convocation, where we have the opportunity to honor his lifetime and celebrate his legacy. I'd like to thank the Board of Regents who are in attendance today, because certainly the vision for today's program was born through a conversation with our chairman who serves on our Board of Regents. And Chairman Myers, when he delivered his comments, he sat down with me and we could all hear the emotion in his voice. And that emotion is a reflection of the respect that he has for Reverend Lawson. And he was diligent in conveying the message that we needed to do this celebration now and not wait. So please join me in thanking him for his vision and the members of the Board of Regents who have always been focused on celebrating the accomplishments of individuals at TSU and in our community. I also want to thank our students, our faculty, our staff, and our alumni, and I know that our outstanding provost and her team have also been the wind beneath everyone's wings today in creating this convocation. And it is truly a special day and has been done in a special way to honor a very special person. Additionally, I'd like to recognize members of our community who work each and every day on behalf of Texas Southern, of course those that are in Tiger Nation, but they also work to serve others through their role as our elected officials. So please join me in recognizing and thanking U.S. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee in absentia today, our U.S. Congressman Al Green, who's here with us today, our Senator Boris Miles, who's extremely passionate about Texas Southern University, who's here today, our Representative Jarvis Johnson, who's also unmatched in his passion for Texas Southern University, our Representative Ron Reynolds, who's always here to support me and give me a kind word of comfort and support. Also our Representative Sean Theory, who works behind the scenes to make sure we're well taken care of. And then the person I always remind everyone in the nation, my outstanding and most favorite #1 mayor, Sylvester Turner, who's here as well with us today. I am looking forward to him joining the faculty once again to share his wisdom upon his retirement. Also, I'd like to recognize the outstanding council member who always reminds us that we are the district of destination, Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shabazz. I'd also like to recognize someone who served as the wind beneath the wings of our outstanding faculty members. So I'd like to recognize Mrs. Clarice Freeman, the wife of Dr. Thomas Freeman, who's here with us, and I am honored. That she is as proud of that debate team as I am today. Thank you for being here with us. I would also like to recognize one of our former regents, Eric Salwin, who's here with us today. Thank you. I would also outstanding member of the Board of Regents who has worked tirelessly to ensure that my transition was successful. It's my understanding that Regent Stephanie Nellis Page has joined us, and her outstanding husband, former U.S. Secretary of Education, Dr. Rod Page. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for ensuring my successful transition. And I have always reminded Dr. Page that he has the job that I would always love to have as Secretary of Education. Thank you. I also want to recognize our president, Corey Williams of the TSU National Alumni Association, and all of her board members that are in attendance. Thank you for all you do in leading our Alumni Association. I'd also like to recognize the trustees of the TSU Foundation. Please stand. I see Trustee Manning. I see others. Thank you so much for being here to support us today. One of the things as president is you always have the honor of recognizing many individuals who support the university, but I never want to overlook anyone. So if there are any other elected officials and special guests in the audience, please stand and be recognized at this time. I will tell you all, rearing two girls, I witnessed firsthand the uniquely special relationship that can often exist between fathers and their daughters. Thus, I am proud to introduce the extraordinary daughters of Reverend Lawson, who will serve as individuals that will provide a convocation tribute to their father. Bill and Audrey Lawson were blessed with 3 daughters, Melanie, Cheryl, and Roxanne. Their late brother Eric Kaufman is present in spirit with them each and every day. All 3 daughters completed their undergraduate education at some of the nation's finest universities and returned back to Houston to live near their parents. Melanie Lawson was one of the first African American women to graduate from Princeton University, where she earned her Bachelor of Arts in Politics, as well as a joint degree in Law and Journalism from Columbia. Melanie's career has included working at top Wall Street law firms and over 35 years at Houston's top-rated ABC affiliate, Channel 13. Melanie is an Emmy award-winning reporter and is currently the anchor of the Midday News and Live at 5. She has served on several boards of numerous organizations, including the Houston Ballet, Shape Community Center, Asian Society, the Houston Museum of African American Culture, and the Roscoe Chapel. Melanie also belongs to the Houston chapter of the Links Incorporated and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and she's a member of the American Leadership Forum. Melanie Lawson, thank you for being here today. We also have Cheryl Lawson, who has earned her undergraduate degree from Carnegie Mellon University and her MBA from Rice University. Her career has spanned working in technology at IBM, banking at Chase Manhattan, supporting her father at Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, and bank consulting at JMFA, where she rose to Executive Vice President, supporting regulatory compliance. As the Executive Director of the William A. Lawson Institute for Peace and Prosperity, Cheryl carries on the legacy of Bill and Audrey Lawson through WALLA's 2 most important programs: the WALLA Senior Residence provides affordable housing for independent seniors in a 66,000 square foot facility on Scott Street, and the Lawson Academy, a single gender charter school for grades 6 through 8. Please join me in welcoming Cheryl Lawson. Roxanne Lawson attended Spelman University in Atlanta and has spent more than 20 years working for the city of Houston. Is that correct? Okay. Oh, the Spelmanites. Oh, thank you. I quickly looked at Provost and said, is that inaccurate? And she has spent more than 20 years working for the city of Houston. First as secretary in the office of the mayor and presently as city council liaison for Houston's Department of Housing and Community Development. Roxanne has also served at Wheeler Baptist Church and credits her administrative skills learned there for carrying her through her professional career. Roxanne is the only daughter who brought grandchildren into the world. You can tell she wrote this herself. Is the only daughter who brought grandchildren to the world, and she is, therefore, the favorite of the daughters. And then we say, not really, that's a running family joke in the Lawson household. Thank you for saving me by putting that in parentheses. Her eldest daughter, Robin, has given her 2 beautiful grandsons, Amalis, who is 5, and Ronan, who just turned 1 year old. Both daughters, Robin and Raven, are actors and singers who perform in theaters across Houston. The most important thing to these 3 daughters is not their careers or their connections. It's their commitment to their faith, the church their parents founded, and their father, who has worked so hard to make this city and our community a better place. And he started his journey for greater civil and human rights right here at Texas Southern University. At this time, please join me in welcoming the favorite daughter to the podium, Roxanne Lawson. She paid me to say that.
There's something biblical about the last thing first. So I'm going to go with that. And yes, I am the favorite, because although I don't have the same accolades, I extended the favor. I kept it going. Oh, I'm sorry, my boss is in the audience, so I'm on my lunch break, sir. I want to thank Texas Southern University for this wonderful, wonderful occasion. I'm very sorry that Daddy was not able to join us today, but he is with us in spirit, and you know this. Daddy established a neighborly and harmonious relationship with TSU from the time of his arrival to Houston. Our family home was located directly across the railroad tracks from TSU. The tracks are gone, and where our house sat is now where the Health and Physical Education building sits. He created and has sustained long-standing support of TSU and has always been willing to do whatever is needed with and for the students of TSU, the administration, and the furthering of this institution in the city of Houston. Daddy went out of his way to meet, greet, and keep good rapport with every TSU president and administration since his arrival in 1955. Once Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church was chartered, he consistently included TSU in all of the church's activities and events, including making TSU the site of many of our worship services and special events. And speaking of wind beneath his wings, I cannot ignore the fact that Oratorical was the wind beneath his wings. And she is the reason that he got here in the first place. Daddy and Mama made TSU part of my life from the beginning of my life. I'm going back to early childhood development and Head Start, swimming classes, driver's education, modern days, summer programs. I spent a lot of years here at TSU because of the love of faith that Daddy had with this institution. There has not been a time in my short life that TSU wasn't a part of Bill Lawson's life. And that's because of his strong love for this fine HBCU. Now, I'm going to bring up my sister, Cheryl. She's number 2.
So as you can tell, the Lawsons don't follow directions. I am honored to be here, President, Provost, President of the Regents. You guys have honored us so much today, and we thank you. I am the second daughter, but I'm also the daughter that runs wild, so I'm the one that kind of carries the legacy forward. And one of the ways in which my dad and my mom brought TSU back into our circle, if you will, was we planted our Lawson Academy campus here, and it stayed here for 7 years in the second floor of the Samuel Neighbor Science Building. Their commitment to showing boys who were in their 6th and 7th grade what college looked like so that they could become college-bound was unmatched. There was no other school at the time that was located on the university campus, and we were here to show these boys how to be young adults. And that kind of reminds me that the parents, when they came, they were young. You know, my dad and mom came to Houston in 1955, and this university was not the grand establishment that it is today. It had a building and a bunch of Quonset huts. Wheeler was a busy thoroughfare. And so the university was really being born. Small classes, not a whole lot of kids, most of them in their first college of anybody in their family. Their parents had worked to get them to college because their parents had been, you know, elementary school graduates or high school graduates, but not university graduates. And my parents were committed to this community for a lot of reasons, but the main reason was because it was a college community. And the birth of the church was designed around the presence of these college kids for whom there was no convenient church. So when my parents think about Texas Southern University, I think always of them as young people coming with a small child. Melanie was born before they got to Houston. I was born shortly after. And they came here as young people looking at other young people trying to plan a future for them. In a city that was at that time segregated, in a community that was at that time very small, and made sure that not just the students, but all of the faculty of this small university, all of the families of the faculty and the staff, had a community around them that demonstrated the care and concern and the Christian love that they brought with them when they came to Houston from Kansas. You know, one of the things that I think is important to say is that TSU has demonstrated in all of its years the kind of commitment to community that they brought. I don't know if it's the chicken first or the egg. I don't know. I just know that when we got here, we came to a community and we brought with us, as a family, all of that community out into the larger city of Houston. I think that Houston has grown because of TSU. I know that our church has grown because of TSU, and yet I think that TSU helped us to grow. And we thank you so much for this honor. If my dad could be here, he would be here. He loves this university more than any other university, even his own TSU alma mater. He went to Tennessee State A&I, he and my mom. But this is the university where he planted his church, his family, and his community. and we love you. Thank you. Now, the last of our sisters, my sisters, is the oldest sister. I would like to make that point very clear. She's the oldest sister, and her name is Melanie. You might have seen her on TV.
Everybody's a comedian, you know? I am so delighted to be here right now, and Madam President, Mr. Chairman, who knew that little conversation we had would turn into this in less than a month, and I'm so appreciative of that. My dad wasn't able to be here today, but he is watching somewhere, so if you all would do me a favor, everybody just wave and say, "Hey, Reverend Lawson." He will appreciate that very, very much. As both of my sisters have indicated, I really cannot remember a time when TSU was not a major part of our lives. My parents moved to Houston, a city they had never seen, and right on the campus, or very close to the campus of a university they knew virtually nothing about. But my dad says he fell in love with this place almost immediately. It was a small, underfunded university with one permanent building, and it was really created to keep black students out of white universities, as we all know. He was hired, as we told you, to head up the Baptist Student Union in that little frame house that was right next to the railroad tracks. I think we can all sleep through a storm now as a result of hearing the railroad in the middle of the night. He says a few years later, the students at TSU, like many students around the country, were getting frustrated with segregation and racism. They saw students in other parts of the country staging sit-ins at segregated lunch counters, and they wanted to do it here as well. So they came to our dad asking him to help them learn about nonviolent resistance, how to handle what they saw in their way. And he tried to talk them out of it, saying their parents had sacrificed too much for them to get arrested or kicked out of school. So they told him, well, if you won't do it, we'll find somebody who will. And they walked right out of the door. He says at that moment he was dragged kicking and screaming into the civil rights movement. Yeah. As the oldest, thank you, Cheryl, very much, I can remember walking with him in some of the marches led by TSU students, protesting segregated public schools and facilities. In our little house just a few yards from campus, my dad created a baby tiger to honor the mascot here and put that image on t-shirts. Yeah, you probably didn't know he also did that. But when people like Dr. King and Andrew Young and Reverend Jesse Jackson would come to town, they would also meet in that small little frame house. And while we kids were trying to sleep upstairs, they were loudly planning strategy downstairs and telling a few bad jokes at the same time. When my parents decided that there needed to be a church for TSU students who could walk to, that same living room was where they started Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, with 13 charter members, some of whom are here this morning. I see Miss Booker. Is that right? Yeah. I see Miss Cash out there. And Miss Wright. Okay, I see everybody. But all of these folks were part of, Miss Bryant. Hey, Miss Bryant, how are you? They're going to get me later on because I can't see anymore. But these young women and their husbands were also part of Texas Southern University, and they decided this is where we needed to be. A few years later, they were able to find a building right down the street. Since then, Wheeler Avenue and Texas Southern University have been neighbors and allies for now almost 60 years. And there has rarely been anything my parents and church members have done that would not include TSU. Usually it was when the first or second thing they worried about. What's so striking to me now is just how young they were when they took on such a monumental challenge. My parents were in their 20s when they moved here, and the students they worked with were obviously even younger than that. It's a reminder that it's never too early or too late to change the world. And I want to say that to all of those students out there who think,